I, 25 female, am getting married in a few months. My fiancé, 28 male, and I have been together for 5 years, and this is something we've both been looking forward to for a long time. A little background. When I was 13, my mom left my dad and me to be with someone else. My dad and I were devastated. She didn't just leave though. She completely cut ties with us, moved to a different city, and started a new family. She married her new husband and had a daughter, Lily, now 12 female. My mom never reached out to me after she left, not even on birthdays or holidays. It was like she erased me from her life. My dad did his best to raise me on his own, but it was tough. I grew up feeling abandoned and hurt, and I struggled with the fact that my mom seemed so happy with her new family. As I got older, I tried to move on, but I never truly forgave her for what she did. 3 years ago, my mom reached out to me out of the blue. She said she regretted leaving and wanted to reconnect. She told me about Lily and how much it would mean to her if I got to know my half-sister. I was polite but distant. I met Lily a couple of times, and she's a sweet kid, but I can't help but feel a lot of resentment toward my mom. Now that I'm planning my wedding, my mom has been trying to get more involved. She asked if Lily could be a flower girl and if she could have a role in the ceremony. I told her no. I don't want my mom or Lily involved in the wedding. This is supposed to be a day of happiness and celebration for me and my dad, who's been my rock throughout all this. My mom got really upset when I told her this. She accused me of being selfish and holding on to the past. She said Lily had nothing to do with what happened and that excluding her would be unfair. She also said it would be a way to start fresh as a family and that I'm depriving Lily of the chance to bond with me. My dad supports my decision, but some of my relatives are pressuring me to reconsider. They say that weddings are about family and forgiveness, and that it's time to let go of the past. They also think that I'm punishing Lily for something that isn't her fault. But I can't shake the feeling that involving them would ruin what should be one of the happiest days of my life. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to invite my half-sister to my wedding after my mom abandoned me to start a new family? Not the a-hole. Your mom is using her real daughter as a tool to get to you now that you're a fun thing to have. Raising a kid isn't fun, but planning a wedding? Fun. Having a happy, successful adult daughter? Fun. Being the mother of the bride? Fun. Getting to be a grandma sooner rather than later? Fun. You need to cut ties. Otherwise, your biological female parent will continue to manipulate and use you. She might also attempt to use your spouse and/or children, if you have any. She has proven that her wants are more important to her than her responsibilities. You have to do what is right for you, of course. But if it were me, I would plan an afternoon outing with Lily, just the two of you. A lunch, ice cream, whatever. Explain that you think she's a smart, kind young woman with a bright future, but that family isn't about biology. Families are made, not born. And your mother made the choice for you and Lily to not be family. Tell her you think she's great, but that both of you need to focus on your real families, and that you won't be seeing her again. Then basically tell your mom the same thing, except you don't have to be nice about it. I'd bet money that she wants you back in her life to look after Lily. She's the same age you were when your mom bailed. She wants a free babysitter this time. Quote, they say that weddings are about family and forgiveness, and that it's time to let go of the past. Close quote. False. The wedding is about the spouses. It's their day, and the focus of the celebration should be on them. Answer your family that, if you must, you could dedicate part of your speech to your mother, saying how much she hurt you and the scars that you still bear. See if they like it. Not the a-hole.
Okay, boys and girls, buckle up for this journey. My mother-in-law passed away a little over a year ago from cancer after a 3-year battle. She and her husband had been married for 47 years. It was difficult on the entire family. My husband handled it very well. She died around the time of our wedding, honeymoon, so I think having the positive events and support in his life helped. Before she passed, she asked that her husband not remarry. She said that he could sleep around and date like crazy, but to not remarry. He is notorious for being very easily manipulated. She didn't want any woman taking his money that should be left to the kids. After 2 months after her passing, he started dating a woman. A year later, he has all of his finances in her name and has sold his house and moved in with her. The new girlfriend, fiancé, and him want to do something with the wife's ashes. They won't get into detail, but won't keep them in the house. They both said they want to bury them in a park near them under a tree donated to the park. The woman is on several committees for the park. The park is given a donation when people choose to do this. She has also taken several belongings of my late mother-in-law's to sell at auctions for this group, without checking with her children first. My late mother-in-law hated nature and the outdoors. It would not be her pick. We had recommended a more appropriate place that reflected who she was. They both said no, it had to be the park. We went over one day. I grabbed the ashes, let my father-in-law know, but didn't ask permission, and we took them to our house where they are staying. The husband has asked for them to be buried at the park. We have refused. He has asked for even a small bag of the ashes, which we have also refused. I won't let him have a teaspoon of her ashes to bury in that damn park. I told him that he will have to pry her ashes out of my cold dead hands. Am I the a-hole? Yes, the a-hole. This is not your decision to make. His wife passed, and you are refusing him even a portion of her ashes. I could understand not giving him the entire urn, but by not allowing him even a portion to respectfully bury because you don't like the location, 100% a-hole. Yes, the a-hole. Give him his damn wife's ashes. Like what? You're clinging to these ashes because you're pissed that he has a new girlfriend and think she hated trees? This is incredibly petty and none of your business. I'm pretty sure she would have hated you creating stupid fights over her remains more than she would hate a nice dedication in a park. Everyone sucks here. I don't even know how to break this all down. Everyone sucks. You suck, he sucks, new girlfriend sucks, straws suck, etc. I get your reason. I get his reason. And I say this as someone with a past father-in-law and a mother-in-law that is a rather contemptuous relationship. Yes, the a-hole. The ashes belong to your father-in-law, and it is up to him what to do with them. He knew his wife much better than you did, and you have no right to hold the ashes hostage. You have no idea what she told him in private, as she was ill. She may have changed her mind about what her wishes were known as publicly. You also cannot claim to know the dynamic between your father-in-law and his new lady. You are an outsider in that relationship, and are an a-hole for projecting your judgment, and for taking something that does not belong to you. Return the ashes now, and let your father-in-law and husband figure this out together, and stay out of it. I have an ex-wife who recently divorced the man she married after our divorce. As part of their divorce settlement, she got one of his cars and some of the guns he bought for her, but which he mostly used. She had no interest in keeping any of this, so she asked me if I would be interested. I said I would if the price was right. I ended up buying all of that from her and some other small dollar items at a really good price. She doesn't know anything about car prices or gun prices, and I assume didn't look at any references to see what they were worth. So I got all of it for a great deal. I paid 10 to 15K less for the car than its Blue Book value, and the guns were about 33% of what you'd get if you bought them at auction. I was explaining all of this to my son, and he got upset with me. He told me I had ripped off his mom and demanded that I pay her something closer to fair market value. He says I took advantage of her because I knew she most likely relied on me to deal with her fairly. I told him that if she did that, then she was a fool because I didn't owe her anything. I'm not her husband and not her friend. He says that if I don't make this right, he will tell her and it will hurt our relationship. I think he's being an a-hole, not me, by sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. Is he right? Am I the a-hole, and would I be the a-hole if I refused to do what he's demanding? Yes, the a-hole. Your son is not sticking his nose where it doesn't belong because you told him. He's just watching his mom go through a divorce, and I bet it hasn't been nice for her or him. Then he finds out his dad has ripped her off because she didn't know any better. You may feel a certain way about your ex-wife, but she's his mother, and of course he is going to be protective of the fact that you're taking advantage of her. I would go to your wife and own up before your son tells her, unless the money is really more important than having a decent relationship with your son and his mother. Yes, the a-hole. You literally put your child into a position to instinctively protect his mother while simultaneously losing respect for you. Not only the fact that you're the one who told him about it, then claimed it's not his business when you didn't get the kudos you were looking for. Your son isn't sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. You invited him and then judged him for being there. Aside from the fact that you took advantage of her trust, for real, you ripped off your son's mother. And it never occurred to you that ripping off someone who you need to co-parent with and will know your whole life was not the brightest idea in the world? Yes, the a-hole. I'm the younger brother to my sister, and we are like the 70s show Eric Foreman versus sister type relationship. She is the attractive one. I'm not. So throughout our lives, the obvious preference was evident. She was Daddy's princess. Me, like Red said, go clean up your room unless you want a foot up your butt. I love that show because it's literally how our relationship is. She is always cuddled up and treated way better than me. I had to work for my first beater. My sister got an M3 for her birthday. My dreams of being a pilot is stupid, according to my parents. But her humanities degree, yeah, that's useful. They pay for it. On top of that, she has boys who buy her crap all the time, and she always has money because she is a S worker and started being a minor still. When I caught her when she was 17, she paid me $3,000 not to say anything, and me being the disadvantaged child, I took it. I'm jealous of her in the sense that she seems to get away with anything. She gets my dream car that she treats like some Corolla from the 70s. Her dreams are regarded as priority. She gets all the cool guys. She gets paid to do relatively easy stuff. I'm not saying S work is easy. I'm saying the margin seems high for something everybody does. I have to take crap from a boss to make in a week what she makes in hours. I get to be ugly, so no one cares. The only thing that makes me happy is W. And when she went and told my parents, they came to my room and took my grinder, pipes. I had like $50 in rolling papers ready to use during this pandemic. All because she got mad at my dad because she comes too late to the house, and she decided to go, oh well, bro smokes W and you don't do crap to him. I got so mad when they broke my glass bong that I just flat out told them everything. I sent them the text between me and my sis to not tell our parents about her business. I told them how she started as soon as she got a license and her precious sports car. And like always, I got smacked in the mouth. How could you say that about your sister? And they want me to apologize. I feel very guilt-tripped by everyone. I'm going to say yes the a-hole, more for the fact that you knew your sister was doing S work as a minor and didn't tell your parents just because she gave you money, OP. That's far worse than anything you've told them now. To be honest, I find it hard to believe how me being 14 at the time, it's my fault for not keeping tabs on her accounts and what she does. That's my parents' job, not me. She was the older sister, not me. Why do people want to put so much blame on top of me? I swear, this is why I grew up resentful. Everything is my fault, even when it isn't. Now it's my fault my sister is a P. Great. What is even worse to me is how I was manipulated by my sister to take money to keep me quiet when I was 14. She was literally almost an adult. People just completely take away self-responsibility from women and act like all the bad things that happen to women are uncalled for or unfair. Everyone sucks here. Your actions are understandable to some extent, and I am sorry you've grown up in a horrible environment that you didn't ask for. But your revenge motivation is still a-hole behavior, regardless of the situation. Had you been honest with your parents with the motivation to help her because she's been abused and is in danger, I might excuse it. But you were angry and wanted revenge for the way she wronged you. Your parents and your sister absolutely suck more, but that doesn't mean you weren't also an a-hole. My ex and I had a baby 3 years into our doomed marriage. By the time my baby was 9 months old, I left because my ex was aggressive, cheating, etc. Divorced finalized when Jerry was 2. At that point, the ex had a second kid already with his mistress and forgot to mention it until the kid was almost a year old. When Jerry was 4, the ex moved out of state from Washington to Illinois for a job opportunity that would provide for my family, after barring me earlier from leaving the state for a better opportunity for Jerry, son, and I. Mind you, his $300 of child support never changed, although I now had Jerry full-time. In the meantime, I started seeing someone when Jerry was 18 months old. He and I are now married, and we have 2 more kids. Jerry is 15. He calls my husband Dad. Jerry is the best brother to his sister and brother ever. A few years ago, my husband and I approached the ex about hyphing Jerry's last name. Ex said he'd think about it. A year later, after asking several times, Ex said to our lawyer that if we wanted to hyphenate Jerry's last name, my husband should adopt him, but I still want to be in Jerry's life and visit and stuff. We took this to mean he wanted to not pay his $300 a month child support, but still hang out and be dad. We agreed because we knew Ex would be out of our lives and we can continue being happy. Jerry is adopted. Child support ends. Ex never mentioned to Jerry anything about the adoption. It's a good thing we have such an open relationship with Jerry that he can tell us these things. And we were right, we never heard from Ex again personally. Ex's visits have become more sporadic. Last physical visit was in January of 2018, after not seeing Jerry for over a year. X is a commercial pilot and is in the area frequently, according to his family, who we are in touch with for Jerry's sake. X doesn't text Jerry frequently or call since adoption, maybe a couple times a year. Recently, the ex has been texting Jerry, saying, "Let's hang out tomorrow, I'm in town," etc. Jerry tells us immediately. X tries to make plans and Jerry at first said, "Okay, let's get coffee or something." Several hours after the plans are set, then X calls us, usually at 10 or 11 at night, to ask if Jerry is free to hang out tomorrow, and acts like he just got into town and we don't know that he's been planning all afternoon. We always say we will see if he wants to hang out in the morning. X always calls and flakes on Jerry in the morning with us, but never explains to Jerry, who, because he knows he will flake, has stated he doesn't want to hang out because it's weird and uncomfortable. So now we're going to explain to X, in small words so he can fully understand, that it's not appropriate in our opinion for a middle-aged man to be making dates with our underage son without asking his parents first, and that Jerry has become uncomfortable with these texts. Would I be the a-hole for going back on the "sure you can see him after the adoption" agreement? Skip the heavily loaded middle-aged man making dates language and cut to the chase. Tell him you're all done with his duckery. No more promises he has no intention of keeping. And from here forward, if your son wants to call him, he will, and to leave him alone until then. Everyone sucks here. My husband adopted my son from my first marriage, so I can absolutely relate to this. Been in this same exact situation. Jerry is old enough to tell you what he wants. You need to sit down and have a talk with him and then abide by his wishes. If he wants to spend time with his father, then allow it. It's still his father, and you can't change that. If you try to keep him from his father, he is likely to resent you. If he doesn't want to, then cool. Feel free to tell the sperm donor to kick rocks. Background. This concerns my best friend of 20 years. We're like brothers, but he moved to a different state 5 years ago to be closer to his wife's family. He has been married to his wife for 9 years, and they have a 6-year-old child. I am godfather to the child and love her very much. Best friend is a very wonderful man. He's a gentle giant, 6'4", think a more talkative Hodor, and has always been a beta wolf who just kind of goes with the flow. His wife is a small woman, 5 feet, quite attractive. Wife is, in my opinion, kind of a horrible person. She has a master's degree in her field but hasn't worked in 8 years because she has anxiety. And best friend makes a decent living as a software guy for a large shipping company, enough for them to have a comfortable middle-class life. Wife is a stay-at-home mom, her choice, but she doesn't really take care of the house, doesn't cook, doesn't clean, and makes best friend feel guilty about doing anything for himself. Example. He has to pretend to be working overtime just to see a movie by himself after work a couple of times a year. Every minute of his time has to be accounted for. Getting to the point. About 6 months ago, wife cheated on my best friend. Wife did not come clean, but best friend discovered iMessages synced to her iPad where she was saying romantic things to some guy she knew in high school. She was lying and staying out until 3 or 4 a.m., saying she was out with her college-age sister, but the sister wasn't informed of the lie, and so told best friend the truth when he asked about wife's whereabouts. Wife tried to lie to best friend about it, but she eventually confessed, but said nothing else beyond kissing ever happened. I don't believe this. She told best friend that she didn't love him anymore, and at one point hit him with the iPad as he was reading texts she had sent to the other guy. She then suggested that even though she hit him, if she called the police, he would be the one going to jail. Things went to crap, and best friend and his wife were preparing for a separation, divorce, and were in mediation when wife realized that due to her state's new laws, she was only going to get 3 years of spousal support and 0 child support because best friend was demanding joint custody. At this point, wife totally changed her tune and wanted to reconcile. Because my best friend is a pushover and he wants to believe she didn't duck the other guy, he took her back. For the past 6 months, they basically have just been living on autopilot. I've heard my goddaughter can tell that things are not right, that mommy and daddy are cold to each other. Wife still nags him about everything and generally treats him like crap. And as time passes, her guilt from the infidelity dissipates with every week. In a phone convo with best friend, I recently told him that his wife is dog crap and that he'll continue to be miserable as long as he keeps her around. He didn't expect me to be so blunt, and things have been a bit strained since. But on some level, I think he knows I'm right. I'm very close with his family. They still live in my state, and they pretty much believe what I do. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, because you're absolutely right. But it sounds like your friend is in an aggressive relationship. The way to support him is not to call his wife names and be overly harsh. You should have offered your support in getting out of a bad situation, rather than snapping that he was going to be miserable for the rest of his life. I mean, damn, this is tough. I'll say not the a-hole, though I don't think you took the best approach here. Telling someone that the person they've dedicated many years, and a child, is dog crap is really rough. It's more likely to make them push back than admit you are right. Still, I think your intent was good, and based on what you've written, you are right to be honest with him. But I think you should apologize, though, and work on a slower, better method to help him see the light, or admit to seeing the light at least. Not the a-hole. It's always best to hear the hard truth from a good friend, even in the way you told him. The wife's obviously an awful witch, and you should help your friend in any way you can. It's pretty clear that your friend is well aware of what sort of manipulative person his wife is. If he's really your best friend for 20 years, then I assume he really trusts you, and you should definitely push him to make an exit out of this relationship so he can have a healthy life.